From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of all my colleagues, and in particular Dr. Mary Jane Deeb, Chief of the African and Middle East Division, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone. I'm Joan Weeks, head of the Near East section, that is the sponsor of today's program, along with the Asian Division and the Roshan Institute for Persian Studies. We are very pleased to continue the Persian book lecture series with today's program on Persian manuscripts in India, collections, curators, and their future. Before we start today's program and introduce our speaker, I'd like to just give you a brief overview of our division and its resources in the hopes that you'll come back and use this reading room and the Asian Division for your research. First of all, there's cards. You can get a reader registration card downstairs on the first floor and then come back up and search in our catalog at catalog.loc.gov and search on terms. For example, if you were interested in future study on Persian manuscripts, you could do a keyword subject search, and you could refine your search to India and pull up Persian manuscripts in India. And you can even limit by language, so you can retrieve materials in the language of your choice. In this reading room, we cover Arabic, Persian, 24 languages, and over 78 countries. This is a custodial division comprised of 3 sections that build and serve the collections for researchers. And we have our Africa section that covers all of sub-Saharan Africa. The Hebraic section is responsible for Hebraica worldwide, and our Near East section covers all of the Arab countries, including North Africa, Turkey, Turkic Central Asia, Iran, Afghanistan, the Muslims in Western China, Russia, the Balkans, and the people of the Caucasus. I'd also like to invite you to try our Four Corners blog. Here, our curators give you very special glimpses of our collections and very interesting articles. And you can also hear and receive alerts about our programs on Facebook and using our RSS feeds. So this little flyer gives you a wealth of information, and if you subscribe, you'll be able to get many more alerts about future programs. And I'm also would like to remind you that this program is being recorded. We invite you to ask questions at the end, but if you do, you're implicitly giving us permission for you to be recorded. So now I'd like to call upon Jonathan Lohr of the Asian Division to give you a quick overview of the Asian Division, and then he'll introduce further speakers. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Many thanks to Joan and Harad and the rest of the African and Middle Eastern Division, as well as Matthew Miller and the Roshan Center of the University of Maryland for helping to organize today's lecture with Dr. Shekhar. So my name is Jonathan Lohr, and I'm the Asian Division's South Asian Reference Librarian and Recommending Officer for India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Before we get started, I just want to give a little background about the Asian Division, which is one of the co-sponsors of today's lecture. So founded in 1928, the Asian Division has custody of more than 3.2 million physical items in over 100 Asian languages. The Asian Division has 7 distinct collections: Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Tibetan, Mongolian, South Asian, and Southeast Asian. This assemblage is one of the world's largest collections of Asian language materials outside of Asia. The gateway for researchers and the general public to use these collections is the Asian Reading Room, which is located in room 150 of the library's Thomas Jefferson building, this building here. Reference librarians are also available in the reading room to assist with any and all research questions. The South Asian collection encompasses materials from Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, the Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Much of the library's South Asian acquisition comes through 2 overseas offices, one in New Delhi, which opened in 1962, and the other in Islamabad, which opened in 1965. Currently, the South Asian collection has more than 300,000 monograph volumes, more than 1,600 journals with 67,000 issues for active and inactive journals, more than 18,000 reels of microfilm, and more than 68,000 titles in microfiche. These items are available in Urdu, Hindi, Bengali, Tamil, Punjabi, Gujarati, Sindhi, Nepali, Sanskrit, Malayalam, Telugu, Kannada, and many other modern languages. The South Asian collection, like the other Asian collections, also has a large and growing list of electronic resources and databases. Overall, this collection provides broad research coverage in most fields and disciplines, particularly in the areas of vernacular languages, literature, religion, philosophy, history, politics, and also South Asian society. It is also especially strong with regard to newspapers, journals, and government publications from South Asia. And without further ado, I'd like to invite Fatima Keshavars of the University of Maryland up to say a few words ahead of today's lecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I direct the Roshan Institute for Persian Studies at the University of Maryland, and delighted to let you know that we do have a full program in Persian studies in which students can major and minor in the language studies, but they also can take a wide range of courses in various areas of culture and literature to enrich their studies. But I wanted to just very briefly, for a couple of minutes, tell you that, but of course, as I came here to start directing the Institute 5 years ago, one of my goals was to connect to as many centers of learning and areas in which we could actually come out of the classroom and be with the people who are interested in what we have to offer. And the first place and the most exciting place that I have found has been the Library of Congress. There's absolutely no other place I can compare with this. And I remember when we were searching for a home in the area, my one criteria was how close is it to the Library of Congress? And you know, as a monument really to the significance of learning, the library has now taken a bigger and more important step of interaction with people. Because you can store knowledge in the form of books and manuscripts, but there's a lot of difference between that and bringing it to the people. So this monument has been enlivened with spirits of learning and work and interaction and reaching out to people like Mary Jane Deeb, like Hirad Dinavari, who will speak to you, like my colleague, director of the Middle Eastern Studies, Joan, who just spoke earlier. And it really is a tremendous pleasure for us to work together. I'm not going to go through the history of what we've done because it will take too long, but we will continue what we are doing in days like this. And it is really a tremendous pleasure to be hosting Professor Chander Shekhar, who gave a beautiful talk yesterday to a full room of young Persian learners who were delighted to hear about India and the role that that tremendous culture has had in the development of Persian, basically being a hub for Persian culture and literature. So with that, I thank you all for being here and look forward to many more occasions such as this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keshavars, for a wonderful talk. That was very, very generous and kind of you. Also, I want to thank you for making it possible for Dr. Shekhar to come here from India, and I'm glad that Roshan is working with wonderful scholars of his caliber. Without taking too much time, I'm going to read his very distinguished bio. It's a very long bio, so please don't be offended if I cut it a bit short. Thank you very much. First of all, namaste to everyone, and khayli khosh aamadeen to all the Persian speakers. Thanks for being here. Professor Chander Shekhar is teaching in the Department of Persian since September 1982 at New Delhi University. He is his PhD thesis on a critical analysis of the Masnavis of Amir Khosrow was adjudged as the second best thesis by the Mojave Foundation, Switzerland, and was awarded in 1990. He is a recipient of the UGC Career Award an award from the Iranian president for cultural studies, and the Sadi Award in 2010, and the Farrukhdin Ali Ahmad Ghalib Award for Persian Studies in 2014. For research support, he has been awarded British Academy Award in 2014 to 2016 to work on law forms from the Shah Jahan period till the 18th century. He was invited to Sorbonne University, Paris, and I'm not going to read the Institute of Languages Sorbonne Studies for a series of lectures in June and July of 2015. He is a member of the International Advisory Board of Perso-Indic Project, Sorbonne University, Paris, and Bonn University in Bonn. He's being funded by the EU Research Council. He organized the third Perso-Indian conference in the University of Delhi in September of 2015. He is a member secretary of Academy of Persian Language and Literature of Iran, Tehran, for the Encyclopedia of Persian Language and Literature in the Subcontinent, a 3-volume work. He has published 22 books so far on textual studies of English and Hindi translations of Indo-Persian texts, and 42 papers published in national and international journals and encyclopedia, including Encyclopedia Britannica. 5 of these have been published in National Mission of Manuscripts, Ministry of Culture, GOI in New Delhi. His edited texts have been edited by internationally known scholars like Professor Carl Ernst, Columbia University, Professor Fabrizio, University of Sorbonne, Paris, and William Dalrymple in his works White Mughals and Last Mughals, and also Professor Robert Elgood of SOAS. He is also project in charge and chief editor of the multi-volume lexicon Farhang Aryan. 6 volumes have been published so far. It's a Persian, English, Hindi, and Urdu lexicon. This project is funded by the Iranian government. Recently, he has been selected as the research guide and consultant on a multi-Universities of Europe, South Asia, Central Asia project initiated by the Exeter University. European Research Council has approved the funding for this. So I can go on and on and on. There's another, you get the idea. He is the expert, and I have to tell you, as someone working with Persian, and with the wonderful help of University of Maryland and other scholars, the unique Persian that comes out of the subcontinent, India and Pakistan, is quite special because it's Persian, yet it has a heavy terminology of Indic and Sanskrit and Hindu terms that Iranians and Afghans don't get. And we really need specialists like him who can help us decipher what we have in our collections from India. And last, I can say easily 1/3 or not more of the Persian rare treasures here are from India. Lithographs, manuscripts, early imprints. There is quite a bit of Persian that was produced in India by Indians for Indian audiences, as well as for Iranian and other Persian-speaking audiences. Thank you, Dr. Shekhar. Thank you.
I am sincerely grateful to the learned managerial officials of African and Middle Eastern Studies Library of Congress, especially Madam John and others, Mr. Herad, and Professor Keshawars from Roshan Foundation, Maryland University, Dr. Matthew, who has been instrumental in making a contact between Delhi University and Maryland University as well as Library of Congress. And I hope his initiative will bring more and more fruits to these initiatives. In fact, I had come to learn more, not to speak a lot. I'm also fortunate that today I'm standing here due to my founder teacher, Professor Syed Yunus Jaffrey, whose sister is working in this library. And I just met her over here. And I'm glad that whatever I have learned, I can pass on to the next generation. And that has been the foremost aim of this presentation. As every one of you might be knowing, in India, Persian became court language. I can't say the language of masses. Court language, language of elites, language of administration, right from 12th century. I will mention that Arabic has been language of religion, interpretation of religious scriptures, and for the monumental, beautiful inscriptions also. It is also interesting that the majority of the rulers who ruled between 12th century till 19th century, none of them was Iranian. But Persian language dominated. The earliest people from Sultanate were basically from the near Khorasan area, Ghaznavis or the Ghaurids, or the Tughlaqs, or the Surs, or the Lodis. They were all from this, we can say, the larger subcontinent part, basically. From 16th century till 19th, the last ruler, we say, Bahadur Shah Zafar, with whom Mughal Empire completely ended in 1857. They were also not Iranians, and they were also from the minor Central Asia, basically. But Persian remained as a language of all of these. And not only the administrative, a huge corpus of literature, non-literary sources, scientific material, all were scribed in this language. If you read third volume of British Library Manuscript Catalog, we find that almost 4,000 manuscripts in a single commission work of Eliot and Downson, who wrote History of India as told by its historians, were procured and brought to British Library, and these are today in the repository of the same. Apart from that, there are many other collections also which have not been yet catalogued, like Delhi collection, which they are now cataloging with William Rusla, with whom I had a presentation recently in London School of Economics. There are another 37,000. If you also look at the catalogs or the manuscripts and various other European libraries, American libraries, majority are highly illustrated and illuminated manuscripts only. But still, their number may not go beyond 20 to 25,000 maximum. Interestingly, till now, we have more than 5 lakh Persian manuscripts, more than 60 lakh documents in Persian in India, and these are scattered over in 3 categories. One are the national repositories, that is, libraries or the museums under central government control, like National Museum, Delhi, Rampur Reza Library, Khudabakhsh Library, Patna, National Library, Kolkata, Salarjung Museum, Hyderabad, and many others like this. Then there are also state libraries, which also have Persian manuscripts and documents. Many of these have been catalogued and many have not been yet, because still purchase of the manuscripts is going on. I remember being a member of the purchase committee in Rampur just 4 years back. We had purchased about 160 manuscripts just in 2 days. And we gave away about $500,000 rupees. And this process is going on. And these are just in the shelves of the Almiras, not catalogued yet. So my summation is that there is a huge collection of manuscripts in government and as well as the private collections, as Roshan Foundation has been successful to persuade Raja Mahmudabad at Lucknow to catalog and digitize their collection, which is almost about 8,000 to 10,000 manuscripts of very valuable one. There are many others. In many khankas, there are manuscripts. These may be of the one particular silsila, or we call also them like a religious and the non-religious sects, basically. And these collections are not only in the Muslim collections, I may also add. These are in many Hindu temples also. You will find the Persian manuscripts, documents in Persian, religious scriptures of Hindus in Persian, and beautifully manuscripts which are also in many American and European libraries from the same faith. Also from Zoroastrians, Jews, Christianity, a lot. And still we are digging out. The question is what we are doing with that and what you people are doing with that. This presentation just as an indicator to the variety of the manuscripts we have in Rampur, Khudabakhsh, or Salarjung, or some Aligarh Muslim University. I also mentioned in many university libraries. In my own university libraries, we have about 300 manuscripts of Persian alone. Sorry. Likewise in Allahabad University, Banaras Hindu University, Aligarh Muslim University, a very good collection. When we see these manuscripts, we have two kinds of information. One is about their external physical state, their script, their years or the period of the writings, and which is also show the evolution of the Persian in India, because with the Persian script or the Arabic script, many other scripts like of Sindhi and Urdu basically and the Kashmiri, they were also developed, and how even within the Persian script, letters like Che, Je, Pe or Gaf were developed, and these manuscripts tell us which was the period in which this letter became present form. For an example, the letter Gaf for G, which has two strokes, I hope many of you who know Persian know. Prior to 1830s, as I was looking at one of the manuscripts Hirad had shown me, and when I remarked and he went back to see the year, and we found it is from 1830s. Prior to that, we will not find that. Or even till early 18th century, the letter Pe is written only with a Ba, and this is one of the reasons that only Iranians insisted that it should be pronounced like by Farsi, that is in the P sound, and it should be pronounced as a Padshah. So these manuscripts also tell us about the paleographic information. Then we have illustrated manuscripts, which I will show, which are not the imperial or the regional court illustrations. These are from the masses, and this tell us about the society also of Indian culture. So variety of the information about the art of bookmaking especially. There are two sets of manuscripts. One which was scribed in India, and the other which were from other world. Like this, on one hand, in the art of bookmaking, there was a continuity of decorating the books with a silver and gold illuminations, and a variety of the designs were created in these. This is one of the manuscripts scribed in Golconda school, namely Masnavi-e-Naqid, on an Indian tale of Rani Chandrakiran and Raja Chaturbhuj. And it's a travelogue. It's interesting. It starts from the city of Ujjain and ends at Isfahan. So this is kind of a variety of confluence of culture came up, languages came up, and then, as Hirad mentioned, variety of the vernacular words, not only of Hindi, Sanskrit, Kannada, Telugu, Bangla, Punjabi, and many others also came up. We know that paper was not easily available after 7th century Samarkand encounter with the Chinese. Paper started at Samarkand, then it went to Aleppo. And from 11th and 12th century onwards, with the introduction of Zainul Abidin in Kashmir, the best paper for manuscripts was started producing in Kashmir. But apart from that, there were many other places where paper was produced. And the majority of the works which we found in literature, right from Firdausi till even Sahib, we can see that the majority of the manuscripts were scribed in India itself. On every manuscript, for the preservation of book, we know that there are fly leaves. And fly leaves are very important in many ways. And this was, I was suggesting to Professor Keshavars one day, that when we digitize the manuscripts, usually we digitize only the textual part, not the fly leaves. But the fly leaves has very important information about the purchase of the book itself, the person who brought first time, or the possessor, or the province it mentions. It provides us the detail, also some political one, I will show you that. So the manuscript is not only the text, but the fly leaves, some of the notes which are mentioned on the, after the chronogram and colophon also. This is one of the manuscripts from Gulistan of Raza Library Rampur, scribed by the renowned calligrapher Sultan Ali Mashhadi. If you can see in the bottom, it is clearly mentioned his name. And interestingly, at the bottom of this corner, you can see this is a writing of a renowned collector, a renowned noble, Abdur Rahim Khan Khanan. And he had a moving library having around 5,000 manuscripts with a good atelier, always the gilders, paper cutters, scribes, painters, all were used to move with him. He established his first library at Ahmedabad, second at Saroj, third at Burhanpur, fourth at Agra again. So wherever he used to stay, he had a librarian with a full staff. And I will show you one manuscript, which is nowadays in Berlin Library, and that mentioned that he purchased that book written by Sultan Ali Mashhadi. Paintings are by Behzad at the cost of 3,000 rupees in 1598. This is one of the copies, again from Aligarh Muslim University, on Diwan Sahib, a renowned poet of Jahangir and Shah Jahan's period, who went back to Isfahan. And it shows that this work is scribed by a renowned another calligrapher, Shafia, and who was also an official at the Mughal court. And the seals were also created by these people. This is a renowned work on the moral and ethics. This is also interesting that in the curriculum, apart from Akhlaq-e Jalali, Akhlaq-e Mohsini, Gulistar Bosta, Pandanama-e Lokman was always there. as there is a famous proverb that one person asked from Hakim Lokman, "You learned etiquettes and ethics from whom?" He said, "From those who do not know." So this is one, and these are writings. The middle one is by Shah Jahan itself. The sign one is from Jahangir. And they used to transaction of the libraries, a seal was put up and the writing was Arz Dide Shud. And the signature, I told my dear friend Hirad on that day, that they will make like a pan or the panja, but that is not the panja or the pan. The word is fakat. Out of humble and humility, they will just mention themselves fakat, that is alone, means this Hich Madan, the person who does not know anything. And this is again from Rampur, the Diwan-e Hafiz, which is recently we reproduced and published and presented to many VVIPs across Central Asia when our Prime Minister had visited. This is the colophon of a manuscript of Kalila Damna, scribed by a renowned scribe, Sultan Muhammad bin Noor, another pupil of Sultan Ali Mashhadi, and it is from the early 16th century. Interestingly, there are two manuscripts from this calligrapher. One is Florence, and the other one is this one. With little bit hard work, I was able to publish the whole manuscript last year with the support of Indian Cultural Council, and this is the front page of that one, and it was released by our Honorable Prime Minister last year in Iran, and copies were distributed among all the scholars free of cost at that time. It has about 120 illustrations by Behzad, and one can also see in these paintings, which is adjusted in this one, in majority of the illustrated manuscripts scribed and painted in Iran, there is one discrimination. They will not paint the page square. They will make some tail type so that it is not a full square in that, while the same is not followed in India, either in regional or the imperial ones. This is again a manuscript from Raza Library on Nal and Daman, a story from Mahabharata. It's an 18th century manuscript, and see the colors, and I will request Hirad to compare it with the manuscript of Shah Jahanama he has in his collection, Library of Congress collection, and the same high colors are used in especially the red one and the green one. And these can be made a comparative study of these illustrations basically. This is the opening folio of the same. This is again, as I said, there are many private collections. This is a manuscript from a Khanka in Hyderabad. They have about 270 manuscripts of various religious and the non-religious texts. And I hope Roshan Foundation will be, and the Health Foundation will be successful, as I have persuaded them to allow the digitization of these manuscripts. This is the last folio of the same. Then, as I said, paper, which was one of the major objects to create manuscripts, was from the Kashmir, in fact, and it was used by many, especially like scribe Muhammad Hussain Kashmiri or Amanat Khan, who was also one of the transcribers and inscription writers in Taj Mahal, basically. And we have a detail in manuscript itself about the paper, these are coming from where, and even today, in many cities, you will have the Kagzi Wadas or Kagzi Wala or Kagaz Bazar, even though today there may be restaurants and other things, but still known with the same nomenclature. Like the Aurangabadi paper was very glossy and stout, had a few varieties like Bahadur Khani, Sahib Khani, Murad Shahi. What used to happen when a Nawab or the emperor used to reach in that particular locality, they will produce a paper particularly and name that paper to him. I remember it is in Tarikh Asafia when Sultan Ibrahim Adil Shah II reached Burhanpur first time, and there is a very good market about paper production. They named after him this one. Then, as I mentioned, in the case of Abdurrahim Khan Khanan, all the skilled people from gilders to Warraq or Sahafi, or the scribe, or the painter, or the Shabisaz, all were always in their libraries. And even for Warraq or the paper maker, there are specific works which they have to give before the work starts. In many cases, you will find the matter is written first and the space is left for the painting, or the vice versa too. In majority of the manuscripts which were in the royal libraries, there were royal signets, and many were reproduced with the highly illuminating form. This is one of the seal with the gold water from early 18th century. It is a work of Miratul Istila of Anandra Mukhlis, which I edited and published recently. It was again published by an Iranian publisher, a copy of which I gave yesterday as a gift to Professor Kishawars. This seal starts from the top. I don't know whether you can see my finger or not. On the middle one, it starts with the Sahib-e-Kiran, that is Amir Taimur. And in the middle one, the name of the then king will come, and the first one starts with his father, and the cycle goes on. It's a genealogical table. But in other regional areas where Mughals were not the emperors, they created a different kind of a seal. If the kingdom is from the Sanites, they will write name of the prophet, and on the corners, name of the Khulafa Rashidin, the first four caliphs. Or they will just put the flowers or like petals in that to illuminate that with especially the red color and especially on the documents. In majority of the seals, like this one, as I mentioned, the fly leaves are important and they tell us about the province and the prices and all these. And they mention about this one. And they will also mention the place. Like this is on the top, if you can read, it is Jahanabad. And also remember, we have some similar words for the different cities. Like Jahangir Nagar was for Dhaka. Jahanabad, also in Bihar presently, but it has been also the short form of Shah Jahanabad. You will find in some scripts. This is, in fact, from Aligarh Muslim University, a manuscript, and a very informative one. Sorry, this is from Salarjung, and this is Tarikh Farooq series of the early mid-18th century. And it gives a complete detail how Farooq Seer used to have meetings in the society in the evening times. Yeah, these are the fly leaves which gives ample information about every manuscript. You can see on the left side, this is a note by Jahangir, middle one is by Shah Jahan, and the middle one is by Abdurrahim Khan Khanan, who procured this manuscripts in 998 Hijri after he got victory of Bahadur Shah Gujarati. And many of these manuscripts he procured there. Even he sent a delegation to Goa to purchase certain manuscripts which were brought by Portuguese from Iran. So this kind of the detail tell us how Persian manuscripts were the sources of trading also. Then this is again from that Salar Jung one. Yeah, this is a very rare manuscript. I hope Professor Keshawar will surprise. This is Nadir Shah sitting on an elephant, a manuscript from 1780s, and in State Archives, Allahabad. I found it, really, it was surprising for me too. And none of Iranians have this kind of a illustration of Nadir Shah, in fact. And this is a rare manuscript, not published yet, and this is the first time I am showing this illustration also. This is one of the manuscripts which contradicts some claims of scholars like Bayani, a writer of many books on the calligraphers. This manuscript of Bostan in National Museum, Delhi, scribed in 1504 to 1508, and the writing is by Abdurrahim Khan-e-Khanan, and it tells us the seal is by Nasiruddin of Malwa Khalji, who ruled between 1500 to 1510 only. The manuscript is in Nastaliq script, and it's surprising the scribe, this Shah Sawar, is not mentioned in any anthology or the biographies of the scribes, and it's from that period, and the manuscript's in Nastaliq, as you can see. And it's a pre-Mughal manuscript. It has about 80 illustrations, even one illustration on Somnath temple, which is a imaginary travel of Saadi to that, but it's a beautiful illustration in this one. Apart from that, there are many other illustrations which show each story of Bostan, in fact. But the major importance of this work is the work was scribed in pre-Mughal period in Nastaliq. The work remained with the Bahmanids, then it went to the Nizam Shahis, and Chand Bibi, during the siege of Ahmednagar, gifted to Abdurrahim Khan-e-Khanan, and he made a note on this manuscript in the bottom. This is the writing of Abdurrahim Khan-e-Khanan. I have published this in a separate article in a volume recently published by Aga Khan Foundation on Abdurrahim Khan-e-Khanan. And this is also interesting that in rare manuscripts of Iran, the Shamsa is used as a seal of the library. In India, it became a fashion that Shamsa, the opening sun of the book, showing the light, is used as a seal of the library. This is the seal. If you can read it, in the middle one, it is written, Berasme Kitab Khane Sultan Nasiruddin Khalji, places of scribe is Mandu in Malwa, which was the capital at that time of these Malwa Khaljis, in fact. So this shows that a variety of the manuscripts in Indian collection tells us the history of the various scripts started within India, in fact. Yeah, this is a manuscript not from Indian collection, but Berlin, but I brought it here just for the information. The whole writing from left to right is by Abdurrahim Khan-e-Khanan, and he tells us how this, I have given the translation over here, that how this was brought in 1012 AH from Gujarat in 3 installments, and he had to send about 2,000 to 3,000 rupees to the people who were having it in the fragments, in fact. And one person who had about some leaves, he thought that Abdurrahim Khan-e-Khanan will give him more money. So he started moving from Ahmedabad towards Agra himself. But on the way, dacoits looted his all things, and those things also, then it became in the hands of dacoits, and they also sold it to someone else. Then again 2,000 rupees were sent to procure those. And at the end, Abdurrahim Khan-e-Khanan tells us that the work is scribed by Sultan Ali Mashhadi and painted by Behzad, and it took 12 years for the preservation and the conservation by the gilders and the painters and the scribes of the same one. Then a writing by Shah Jahan and the old ship seal by Aurangzeb tells us the manuscript has been in their one. But the middle seal again tell us that this was a piece, a magnum opus in the collection of Abdurrahim Khane till late. But now it is in the library of Berlin, in fact. And it also gives a detail, because there was a court politics against Abdurrahim Khane, and he says, this is the work which gave me the inspiration, and due to my good deeds, I was saved by becoming a victim as a conspiracy was hatched against me. So political notes are also in the fly-leaves notes by these nobles of the Mughal period. Again, this is about the preservation and conservation. The manuscripts of Shahnameh, National Museum in New Delhi, the manuscript arrived in Shah Jahan's time, and this noble Sipah Salar Khan mentioned that it became in a very dilapidated condition, and it took about 12 years to put it back to the library after preservation and conservation. And you can see variety of the Arz Dida Shud, the transaction of the library, and about 13 transaction notes are there, which were mainly from the Shah Jahan's period, in fact. Again, a variety of the seals. This is the intellectual history, how people were interested in knowing the various things. These transaction notes tell us how the books were transacted between them. I remember there is a book, a manuscript in Varanasi, BHU library, and the flyleaf says, this book is mine. It is being authenticated by the 12 persons giving their witness at the dawn. No one should steal it. If he will, otherwise, if he will steal it, he will not get place even in Jahannam. And yeah, but if he has to borrow it, he must bring signature of 2 people, so they remain witness that it has been. Yeah, it should return to me, because this is the only work of Gulistan in the whole that region. This is the paucity of the paper, basically, which increased later on. This is another Rampur collection, which gives a various description. Also remember that they mention the prices of the manuscripts also, in whichever the currency they paid. If it is paid in dam, mohar, or hoon. Hoon is a coin of Deccan area. Even the lari, a coin first coined in Lorestan, then went to Georgia. Even the coin of the currency of the Georgia is today lari, but it came into fashion in Bijapur, Adil Shah's period, and it remained till 17th century. They will mention that this work is purchased at the cost of this one. Yeah, the numbers were written in Siak and the words also, so that no one can make any changes in that. This is another manuscript in, as I mentioned, some private collection of Bhandarkar Institute. I could not take a very good picture out of it. On that day, I hadn't my camera. I took it from some other one. But the whole folio is a gold illuminated. And it's from a very unknown poet, Mobit Kashmiri, who came to Awadh from Kashmir in late 17th century. And interestingly, he has given a variety of the poetical collections, especially on the birth of the child. Either it's the twins or the triplets in many cases, and he composes that. Yeah, as I was mentioning in my preamble, the manuscripts were not only scribed or illuminated or illustrated in the imperial or regional courts. It's for out of the society also. This is one of the manuscripts in my own Delhi University library about the society. It's by a poet whom our Urdu poets, I hope one lady from Pakistan I was introduced, she might be knowing her name, Zatali, and no one tries even to teach the compositions he had made. But today, students of the history are working on it, because the language he has used, it is called in unethical, abusive, that kind of thing. But the society depiction is also there. But for the society, poets are using that kind of the language also sometimes. And here, a picture of the school and the madrasa, how the student and the teacher are sitting in that one. And second one is more interesting. A mother-in-law took her daughter-in-law, who is not become pregnant, to this Hakim. Zatali was a Hakim also and the astrologer also. And she took to him to get some kind of advice from that. So these manuscripts show us society, their period, and also the architectural detail. The colors which were used in that. Again, see, my dear Hirat, the green color is used, the dark red color is used, the manuscript which you have like that. Then 18th century was a period of transition also, when manuscripts were created for the new administration, that is the Britishers or the European forces. Maps were created on the basis of the then European techniques. This is one of the manuscripts, Chahar Gulshan, which I published in 2011. It has the maps from Deccan up to Kandahar. They were showing all the details. And as per some scholars of geography and the cartography, this is the first work on European cartographical styles, in fact. Then again, this is from Hyderabad, a beautiful manuscript in National Museum, Delhi. The person who wrote the work, transcribed the work, and painted the work, he is a single person, Mullah Shah Ali Tajalli. He has beautifully illustrated this manuscript. He has given all variety of the subjects in this one, from the court life to the war to the hunting also. Hunting only with the ladies. And here, a French ambassador is being received in the fort of the Golconda. And the whole city map is there, in fact, if you can see. And the dresses of the one dress I was being shown by dear Hirat on that day. Now I'm showing you this one. And this one. This is another manuscript which tells us about the market of Mathura and Ujjain. People are selling. You can read it. Tarif-e-Dukkan-e-Bazaz wa Tarif-e-Dukkan-e-Sarraf. The person who was dealing in the paper. And this is the one when again transition, that Lord Clive was given the rights of the collection of the texts by Shah Alam in 1751. In fact, from the time when the history changes, and it's the post-decline result, in fact. This is the verse of another text on the music one, as I said, variety of the subjects, and full of the vernacular words. You can see the script is Persian, but the words are not the Persian language, and this is the thing which has to be done, and which usually called as the Persian, but not the Persian words. Persian was dethroned in 1837 by Macaulay's one, but Persian in India continued till 1940s. This is one of the sample I'm giving, and from a non-Muslim ruling class from Jodhpur, which shows that till 1911, even I have a document from 1943, that they are showing that the communications between the various chieftains was in Persian. You can see the gold seals also on this one. This is one of the manuscript which tells us a word is used on many of the manuscripts when invocation, ya kabikaj, a kind of a herb which was misinformed by various scholars that it is a kind of an ant, as being used by antidote for the others, but no, it is a herb. One can see in Farhange Muin also, or a dictionary of the medicinal plants published in 3 volumes from Tehran. This is a herb, and it is used on many manuscripts with the annotation, God may save this book. So with this, I conclude this brief detail on various collections of Persian manuscripts. Apart from it, I may mention that it is not only Persian manuscripts in India. We have in Islamic scripts, manuscripts in Turkish. We recently published from Raza Library Rampur a collection in the catalog of the Turkish manuscripts. We have manuscripts in Arabic a lot, variety of the Quran Sharifs, Hadith, Tafsir, which are in Arabic, have been put up on exhibitions, have been published in India. Likewise in Azeri Turkish also, Pashto also, Sindhi in Islamic script also, Kashmiri in Islamic script also. These are in abundance in India, but there is a vast decrease in the script knowing people of this huge corpus, and we are facing the problem as you are also facing about this one, and especially about the documents which are in a huge number, really huge number, but we need students who should come work. We will provide all the detail and the help to them. Unfortunately, Iranian government announced that whoever will do PhD in Persian from outside, their degrees will not be recognized by their ministry, so people are stopped coming to India. They are doing Buddhist studies. They are doing something else, doing their research on the Persian sources, but they cannot get the degree in Persian studies, unfortunately. With this is not a complaint. This is their own policy. We cannot enforce it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was a wonderful talk. That was fantastic. Thank you. But before you leave, in the beginning you gave some statistics and you used the Hindi word lakh. Lakh is exactly how many thousands for folks who don't know?
100,000.
So if you were to takhmeen bezani, if you were to give some sort of an estimate, how many hundreds of thousands of books would you say?
500,000, I said.
Of Persian manuscripts.
Yeah.
And this is not even...
and 4 times more in the document forms. If you say, and if you have time, I can show you about 1,000 documents right here.
I understand. And
because I collected in this travel of 40 years, wherever I have been in various collections, I tried to get a picture for my own knowledge.
Right. Now, this is manuscripts, lithographs and early imprints. How much would you say? That's the other category.
I have published a book on the Naval Kishore's 1896 list in 2012. Because printing press had come in India in 16th century, 1582, brought by the Portuguese. And then it was shifted because there was a infighting between various missionaries itself, because it was brought by the Jesuits, basically. Recently, I taught and I studied a manuscript of Adab al-Sultanat, a manuscript written by Jerome Jesuit, to give a picture of the imperial administration to Jahangir. And as per his claim, the book was presented to Jahangir itself, but we do not find any comment by Jahangir, even in Majalis Jahangiri or others. But from that time, this printing press has come. Majority of the books were used also for the missionary purpose. In late 18th century, when this Fort William College was established in Kolkata, majority of the books were published as the primers for the East India Company officers. And from then, not only the non-illustrated, illustrated ones also, and even I think in Library Congress and some other places also, you have highly illustrated litho printing ones also. I remember there is a Shahnama. Originally, it was by Jani Ajam, as has been prepared, its text, and published from Calcutta. But later on, another manuscript from Pune was prepared by Zoroastrian Society of them, and they also added about 10 to 12 folios prior to the text about their faith, about all the Zoroastrian personages of Pune in that manuscript. So they published it with very good illustration. So litho one was adopted because it can reproduce the handwritten one in the same form. From first, it was on the stones. We have still the stones used by Naval Kishore in one collection, and later on by the zinc press. Till 1996, all the Urdu and Arabic newspapers were published from the litho technology in India. My father, late Diwan Tasawwur, who brought me in this realm of Persian studies, was an Urdu journalist who worked with Faiz Ahmad Faiz long back from Lahore, then shifted to Veer Bharat in Jalandhar, and he worked always on this litho press, in fact. And we have in our own family collection from very early prints of this one. So litho was, but now litho has become again a manuscript. Yeah. Also remember, absolutely, manuscripts are not only the handwritten, because in the other way, that litho is also handwritten. Absolutely. Only thing that we could multiply the copies more easily than one with the handwritten one. So that is another scope of work in research, how this litho, and interestingly, in book writing, one can write straight. But in litho, it is the reverse side, makus, and then has to be published. Has to be printed, exactly. Again, this can go on and on, idame dare dastan, as we say, the story continues. So there is many, angles from which you can look at Persian publishing in India. But I want to open the floor up for about 3 questions. We are already a little over our 1 hour allotment. Befirmain, Humaira Jan, go ahead. Speak up, speak. Can you give some mic to her? We don't have one. Being Julata. Okay. Please speak here so that we can record. Essentially, the question was about seals and the various kinds. They were the Daroga Kitab Khane, superintendent of one, and they were given these kind of the khitabs or the titles in the various times. I will send you a copy of my paper from the pen of Abdurrahim Khan Khanan, or you can also read yourself in Masir Rahimi, who speaks about 3 persons who were the Daroga Kitab Khane of Abdurrahim Khan Khanan, and also later on became Daroga Kitab Khane of the Mughals also. These were the titles basically. This Tahir Ashna, who was a renowned poet also, and one verse of him, Garruye Zami Firdosas Haminasto Haminas, which is various times attributed even to Amir Khusro or to someone else, but this verse is from him, and there is a manuscript of his collection in National Museum, New Delhi also. But basically these are the titles given on the various times. Amanat Khan is also a title, it is not his name.
You referred at the very end to the fact that studying Persian in India may not be acknowledged in mainland Iran because they basically think of it as a kind of an offshoot there. But outside Iran, there is a lot of interest in the Persian at war. All these different constellations of cultures, which are very vibrant, and they have Persian in there, and so there are now societies, as I'm sure you know, and all that. Is there a way that that there could be, kind of, why would it be delegitimized by one country? I mean, there should be ways of coming together to make this a legitimate study of Persian based on what is available to you and the scholars that are there in India, in Central Asia. So do you see anything like that happening in India where...
We have tried to even create a union catalog, not only of the Indian collection, like Dr. Munzavi did it for the Pakistan's manuscript, or recently like Arif Noshahi published a collection of all Persian prints in South Asia. Problem is that scholars, even if they want to do the work, the holders do not allow that. This is a debate going on amongst manuscriptologists in Delhi and some other parts also, especially the private holders. They do not want to part with their things. Even they sometimes resist that they should not touch the manuscripts. It is just a feeling of the possessiveness. They do not know everything has a life, either it's a human being or the manuscripts. But it is their feeling. And this is a major hurdle in creating this kind of a union catalogs, basically. Many times we see, like I have shown you this Bostan manuscript. And when I saw this first time, even my late teacher, Professor Nazir Ahmed, has mentioned about this manuscript, but I don't know how he missed this point in this manuscript and he didn't read the flyleaf note. He just went on the straight Bustan. Because as I said, flyleaf notes are very much important about these. But there should be a move to give and make a comprehensive report on variety of these works, in fact. But it's not a simple thing, in fact. We can make a project, but implementation of the things is a little bit difficult.
Last question. Go ahead, Mary J.
Yeah, please.
First of all, thank you so much. I've learned so much from your presentation. And I had a question. Again, I'm not at all an expert, and so I wanted to ask you. If for someone like me, a layperson, who was looking at a Persian manuscript created in India, what would you say would be the major characteristics that would differentiate it from a manuscript, a Persian manuscript made in Iran, for example, in Persia? What would be the 5 or 6 things that I should be looking at and say, okay, this is a manuscript made in India?
Very good question. I will need some time. I hope you will give that. There were 2 types of the scribes. One who had the mother tongue language, means the Iranians, or the Persian speakers of the Persianate world who arrived in India. And the other one who acquired this language, especially the converts or the non-Muslims who acquired this language for various reasons, not only for the job seeking, but also to know this one. One can make a very good distinction between these 2 groups. The first group will write the manuscript in the font which is prevalent back in their country and more revered one. The second group, in spite of the fact that they were the best calligraphers also, they were not many of the, like Chander Shekhar, on whom Rajiv Kinra in Chicago University has worked, He was one of the best calligraphers. They learned calligraphy for two reasons. All the royal edicts were to be written by the best calligraphers, and one who is writing a single farman also was like a privilege for him. So they tried to reach to that stage. Second was the Seac system, the newer one. These people, when scribing the manuscript, especially on some Indic sciences, they will create the spellings especially closer to the actual pronunciation of the word. While a non-Iranian, means a non-Indian scribe, will try to scribe the word as he has heard. The reason is, it is just the hearing one, and the best example of this hearing and writing is Yule's dictionary, Hobson and Jobson. I hope every one of you know that. No? Hobson and Jobson is a dictionary in 1896, compiled on the basis of all the missives he collected from various Britishers from East Asia as well as India. And in the hearing one, he got many words he got which were misspelled or which were mispronounced, but the details were given. About the two words which he got from Bali, the word was Hobson and Jobson, and the detail was that in particular month we are hearing two words in a procession, and the detail is there is a procession and people are beating their chest and saying, Hobson and Jobson. The word is Ya Hussein, Ya Hassan. But they were hearing Hobson and Jobson. In the similar way, these scribes, whatever they were hearing, I gave one example yesterday, that an Iranian scholar who wrote an entry and the word Elias was presumed to be a Persian word, and he wrote Muhammad Hussein Khan Elias Zafar Khan. While the Elias is an English word, he thought it was a Persian word. So similar such mass level of errors, and this is one of the reasons to find out our own Indic word, what is the actual pronunciation in Persian manuscripts, is difficult for us also. What was the actual pronunciation? Then we have to consult the Sanskrit or the original books, and then we try to find out. This is one of the area from which you can find out. Then the illustrations, as I had shown you, they will try to reproduce these illustrations of variety of the people of the lower class, especially in the same attire, giving the same kind of ornaments, all these things. Then also the buildings, the dresses they are wearing, or the environment then. Apart from all these, somewhere you will find the signs of their faith also. Many of the non-Muslims will write in the beginning, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, but many will just write Rabbina. They will not write Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So this is, they created their own way. Like in India, a Muslim will call a Muslim Salaam Alaikum, but if he's meeting a non-Muslim, he will say Adabs. So Adab Arz. So society created certain kind of parameters themselves, and in some cases it's difficult because many Indian non-Muslim writers, like in this Mobid's manuscript, it's really difficult to make out whether this Persian is written by an Iranian or by an Indian. But you get somewhere from these things. I'm thankful to all again to them.
Thank you, everyone, for coming, and thank you to University of Maryland, to Asian Division, John, and everyone. Thanks again.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.